In today's video, we are going to be looking at all the 5-star premium light cones, and in this video, we are going to be excluding some of them, which are going to be the 5-star standard ones, just because for the most part, a lot of them are going to be technically free with all the summons that you are going to be doing, and when you do get enough of the Stardust or whatever the currency is called, you are going to just be picking up Bronias, and that's pretty much how it is going to be. So today's video is going to be looking at all of the premium 5-star light cones, and basically looking at how good are they on their character, what are they versus the substitutions that you can put with those characters, and then lastly, are they really worth spending more jades on that certain character to gear them out than what you already have. I know this is really a lot in what characters you really like, so if you really like someone like, let's say, Blade, this might be irrelevant to you when it comes to what Blade would want versus his actual worth when it comes to his light cone, but it's either you pick who you want, you gear out who you want, this video really doesn't matter, or for the most part, if you want to know what gives you the most value for these characters, then this video is for you. So there are going to be a couple light cones I am going to be harsh on just because the substitutions for this path are so much better than what you could get from other paths that these light cones are practically useless. And I kind of want to start the video off with these three, I think there are, which is definitely going to be REHOOs, Fushwins, and also, where are you at? I know you're hiding, Luochas. And I think, and I'm pretty sure this is technically the right order for how I would want this on the tier list, and these are by far going to be at the bottom. For the abundance and preservation paths, these paths for sure, especially with preservation having their own herd of light cone and preservation having a lot of the general really good light cones. Same thing for abundance, they have a lot of really great 4-star options that they have available to them, and a lot of these are very overkill. A lot of these provide stats that aren't super necessary for these characters to function. You have characters like REHOO, she gives energy regen on her, she gives an attack boost on hers. A lot of this doesn't really need to be given. You can get perfect timing, that 4-star light cone. You can get post-op conversation. Same thing goes for Fushwin. There's a lot of really great preservation 4-star options that you can use. And Luochas is just super niche at the current moment with him being the only attack-based healer. No one else can use his light cone, and the buffs that he does give with it is very minimal. It is a slight bit of speed, and that's just not something you would want as a 5-star light cone. Say you like these characters, of course, go ahead and get them if you want to. If you really like Luocha, if you really like Fushwin, if you really like REHOO, go ahead and get it. Just if you want to, go and get it if it's your favorite character. But for value's sake, the 4-star options for preservation and the abundance path, they have way better options in the 4 stars that you really don't need. This is super overkill. Nothing in the game is warranting you using any of these light cones that are in the bottom tier that I'm putting in right now, just because you're going to be doing your job regardless with these characters. Fushwin is an absolute tank. REHOO is able to heal an amazing amount, especially with being able to cleanse infinitely, and Luocha is that guy as well. Luocha has standby healing, he has the off-field heal, he has buff strip, all that type of stuff isn't needed. Too much. This is a big waste of jades in my honest opinion, and especially as someone who has Luocha's light, well, has everyone's light cone, but especially someone who loves using Luocha, his light cone by far is the biggest regret of mine in my honest personal opinion when it comes to spending money on a light cone, just because of how little value you really get out of it versus something like perfect timing, versus something like post-op conversation, versus something like the event light cone for abundance. These light cones are definitely not something you do want to use at all, just because they really don't give as much value versus their options when it comes to competition. Now, to go ahead and go put our number 1 spot, and I think a lot of you may know which one this is, and I know the middle part is the big mystery for most of it. I do want to put Jing Yuan rightfully at the very top, just because right now with Jing Yuan, he does give a substantial amount of buffs with his light cone, and it's a light cone that can work on basically every part of the erudition path. You're able to get more crit damage, you're able to get more skill and ultimate damage by static, and then not only that, when you do use your skill or ultimate, you are able to use a follow-up, which is going to have an enhanced amount of boost from the light cone, and that's just overall very great all-around light cone just to have for every erudition character in the game. Now, should you infinitely just go ahead, boom, I must get this because it's at the very top, has the most value? Not 100%, because although it is very great for erudition and it is very general use, you can use it on basically every single character in the erudition path, which is a really great thing. If you really like a character in another path, or you really like a character that is coming out in the erudition path, you might want to just go ahead and get the signature for them solely, just because if you really like that character, you really want the best for them, and their signature light cone will always be the best option no matter what. Jing Yuan's is the best when it comes to the all-around option that you can use for erudition, but for whatever your favorite character is, especially if it's in the erudition class and they're coming out that is very new, they're not going to have this be their best in slot. It's going to be their signature, of course. So if you're looking for an overall good light cone for the erudition class, you don't really care about whatever your erudition unit it comes out in the future, then Jing Yuan's light cone is 100% it. Just because you get all of these buffs, the crit damage, the skill, the ultimate, and the follow-up attack damage boost just for having this light cone on. And it's very non-conditional. Use the skill, use the ultimate, you get a follow-up attack buff. You get a static skill and ultimate buff, and then you get the crit damage buff. Overall, just an amazing light cone with a fat ton of value on top of it. And now for the next light cones that are in the middle, now that we have that the bottom is just like no go, please don't get these unless you really want them. And at the top being, this would be the best light cone to get if you like the erudition class, or maybe a character's coming in the future that is erudition. Now here's the rest. Now here are the characters that have really good substitutions, have some substitutions, or just overall have no other option versus what they would have to use if they didn't have this 5-star light cone. And the next character I am going to be doing, which is going to be very utility wise, is going to be Topaz and Numbi. Now Topaz and Numbi and also Dr.Ratio follow different rule sets than the rest of Hun at the current moment, just because besides Yanqing and Seele, which Yanqing does have a follow-up attack but is not really integral to his kit, Topaz and also Dr.Ratio do have most of their damage coming from their follow-up attack. So something like her signature light cone, Dr.Ratio's signature light cone, are going to be very big boosts to them. Now the reason I'm putting this here is not because she doesn't have any substitutions, but because it has a lot of utility with it, with giving extra crit damage based on the amount of times you follow up attack on that enemy, and then you're going to give a whole boost of crit damage to whoever is going to hit this enemy after Topaz, or whenever they do hit the enemy. That is a really good thing, that this is a universal buff for any character, no matter if it is a follow-up attack, no matter if it's a regular ultimate, a skill, any damage of that nature will be getting buffed from that crit damage buff. And it also gives you more damage on your follow-ups and also gives you crit rate. So this is just an overall really great light cone for her to have, especially when it comes to utility that it gives and also the personal boost that Topaz ends up getting. And the reason I keep looking to the side is because I do have my list already put here, so don't mind that. But the next character that will be getting it, and I think this one's a little bit iffy just because I know past this point it might get controversial just because of the characters and the way they're listed, but the next one is going to be Blade. Now the reason Blade is here is because from Blade having his signature light cone versus having something like a Secret Vow is a very big difference. One reason why Secret Vow is going to be his better 4-star option is because, of course, when you're lower than the enemy, which Blade likes to be, just because he ends up doing his ultimate, which reduces him down to 50%. His normal attacks end up reducing his HP as well. This puts them underneath it. But the problem is when you are under 50% HP, you are able to use your ultimate and it will boost you back to 50% HP. Whenever you get your 5 stacks, you will be able to use your follow-up attack, and that does heal you as well. There's a lot of things that go into Blade's kit that actually increase the outgoing healing you get from him, so there's a very likely chance that you are going to be losing the Secret Vow passive, which is a very big damage drop off for Blade. It is his best substitute, and it is a substitute that he can use, but the very big problem is that Blade does scale off of HP, so a lot of these other destruction light cones that do give attack boosts, that do give these damage boosts, aren't going to scale very well when it comes to having Blade and having his best next substitute. And I know I said the damage won't scale well with them, it's just that things like Under the Blue Sky and all of those other light cones just have very bad conditions that I do not like on these light cones. So that's why I think Blade, if you really like his, and I know y'all know me for being very biased for Blade, I put this up here just because his other options don't pale in comparison to his 5-star light cone, because his 5-star light cone is not only going to give crit rate, which is going to be a big almost 100% boost for him, just because he will have the longevity set. So the crit rate, it gives max HP, which is the only destruction light cone to do so, and then you also are going to be getting a damage boost whenever you do get consumed on your own HP or whenever you get attacked. So this is just an overall amazing and 100% synergistic light cone for someone like Blade to have. The next light cone that we are going to be looking at will be the last one on the S tier, and that is going to be another one that gives utility, and it is going to be a little bit weird looking at it versus all the other options, but that is going to be Ruan Mei's light cone. Now Ruan Mei's light cone, for Ruan Mei specifically, she does have other pieces that she can use or other light cones that she can use to be able to substitute this out. Something like Cogs, something like Memories of the Past. These are absolutely amazing pieces of value that you can put on Ruan Mei versus something like her signature light cone. But the reason why her signature light cone's up here is again for the utility that has, and that it's super overkill, especially for what she provides and also for what other units can provide with this light cone. Now right now Harmony does have amazing 4-star options. They have something like Planetary Rendezvous, they have something like Dance Dance Dance. There's a lot of really good stuff that you can use from the Harmony path with versus this signature light cone. But this signature light cone just gives so much for Ruan that it basically completes her kit by itself, with it giving 60% break effect, with it giving damage dealt for all allies a big buff up whenever you use your ultimate. If you have over 160% break effect, you are going to be getting another skill point guaranteed infinitely, and then you also get 10 energy after every wave. That is a lot of utility, especially for someone like Ruan who's already giving you a fat ton of buffs. This is very, very, very overkill for what she would want in the game. But this light cone basically completes everything she would want in just one light cone. You really get a lot of spare substats that you can use within your relic set or your relic loadout, which kind of makes it really broken for Ruan. And for other support characters, maybe something like Asta, who will maybe like a break effect build, maybe someone like Ting Yun, who's able to use their ultimate, which that's a big thing we preface on the support characters, that when they use their ultimate, now the whole team gets a damage buff. Like, this is a very strong light cone. Now, is it necessary for Ruan? Not really. But is it a really good light cone to have for a Harmony character? Why not? You're getting a full team damage boost for just using your ultimate. And also, if you for some reason want to run a break effect build, or we get more characters in the future that want break effect, well, guess what? You get 60% from this. And if you have a certain amount, you get an infinite amount of skill points that you would want for your team, which I think that part is just broken. I think Bronya has a cap on hers, on her light cone, while Ruan just gets an infinite supply of it, which is absolutely busted. Now for the next light cone that we are going to be covering, which I'm going to be putting over the preservation and abundance light cones, is going to be Incessant Rain. And I know for people that are looking at me like, you are putting Silverwolf's light cone under or at the very bottom almost. And for someone that really loves Silverwolf, or someone that uses Silverwolf a lot, I find this light cone to be very, very niche. This light cone really doesn't help with her kit, other than trying to make her a sub DPS. It gives crit rate, which is kind of weird, just because if you have a certain amount of debuffs, you do get the crit rate, which is very easy to get with Silverwolf as her own character. And then also you get an Aether Code implant whenever you do attack the enemy, and it does give them an extra 12% damage boost, which is really nice. The only problem is, with most Silverwolves without their light cone, they easily can run tutorial, which is going to be giving them a lot of energy back, especially if you're coupling it with something like E1. You're going to be getting non-stop back-to-back ults, and one of her stronger builds is the break effect build. No matter how you want to look at it, the break effect build is way easier, way better, just because you are going to be running a faster character most likely, and then you're also going to be just going into full break effect. Characters like Ruan are helping with this. Characters like Asta are helping with the speed requirements that somebody would want, like Silverwolf as being a support character or a debuffer. But a lot of people are looking into effect hit rate. A lot of people are looking into effect hit rate. A lot of people are looking into break effect because it's just a much easier build and the easier stats to grab. You are looking for something like effect hit rate, break effect, and that's it. And speed, of course. But if you're looking for something like sub DPS, not only do you need effect hit rate, you need crit damage, you need attack percent, you need break effect. It's too much. This light cone does overkill, and it's only really needed if you have, I would say, E2+. If you have E2+, go ahead and get this light cone. It helps with the sub DPS style that this light cone was trying to incentivize. But without the effect res minus 20% that you have from the E2 that Silverwolf has, it really is hard to build her, trying to make her a sub DPS, a break effect character, and also giving the effect hit rate she needs to be able to get that weakness implant 100%. So I think right now there are better options like Resolution Shines. There are better options that you can run. That'd be a lot better to rock versus something like Incessant Rain. Incessant Rain, I think, is just too niche, too much to invest in if you want to rock what exactly this is trying to give. Now, for the last tier, which is the A tier, dead in the middle, because I think Incessant Rain is going to be there by themselves, it is going to be the next one, which is Kafka's. I think Kafka's gives a lot to her, and especially as a character who really likes these stats that her own light cone gives versus something like Fermata, versus something like Good Night Sleep Well. This light cone is very good for her. She gets a bunch of speed from this. She gets damage percent bonus, and not only that, she actually can get a special debuff or a special dot just from using this light cone, which is going to make things like the relic set for dot be able to proc more easier and allow for much more damage to come out, just because Kafka as her own character, she can re-trigger all the dots that are on the enemy, and having not only her lightning dot, whatever her teammates dots are, whatever the weakness break is, she also has this extra dot, which is Erode, which is also a lightning dot. This is a really cool thing to have on it, especially with being able to help proc other relic sets or being able to boost her speed and her damage, which are very integral to her kit with being a re-trigger character, and having that extra speed, having that extra damage, being able to nuke down the enemies with whatever dots they have on them, especially if it's a break effect build with your teammate. This is an amazing light cone to have. Now, I said there are things like Fermata good night, sleep well. There are other stuff that do help out Kafka with substitutions, but with the amount of value that Kafka has from this one, the damage dealt, the speed, the extra dot that you get, which is going to help you with other things, just an overall really amazing light cone and something that Kafka can 100% love. And I think everything from A below is something like, if you really like this character, go ahead, while everything S and above is like, you might be more incentivized to get this. You might be more incentivized to get these light cones if you like these characters, or you feel like they're better fit for you with the reasons that I listed whenever I put them there. Now, the next one, I think in my honest opinion, that should go next would be something like Argenti's, just because Argenti's is very general. Is it the best for every erudition character you're gonna have? No, not 100%. This light cone is pretty nice, but it's just a more broad, a more general light cone that you can run on characters that are in that set specifically, or in that class specifically, because it will be giving you crit damage, and whenever you use your ultimate, you will be doing more damage based on the amount of energy points you use when it comes to using your ultimate. Now, as you can see from Kafka and below, this is stuff that you really don't need, stuff that you really don't want to summon for unless you really like that character or you really want to use that character. So something like Argenti's light cone, you would never use just to get it, you know, just to have it for every other character. No, I think the only tier that goes for it is quite literally Jing Yuan's, while something like Argenti's, Kafka's, Ruan, Blades, you know, these are the hyper specific light cones, as of course they are on the signatures. Now, there are going to be some other light cones that we are going to be listing in a second that do play into being able to be used in other means, which is going to be something like Dr.Ratio's light cone. And funny enough, Dr.Ratio's light cone is really nice, and I don't know why I put it behind Argenti, just because I think this light cone is actually very good on multiple hunt characters based on the effects that you look at, and you would think is very follow-up centric when it's really only the last effect that is, which is going to be give extra crit damage. For every debuff, you are going to be doing more damage against this target, and then also when you give an ultimate, you will be doing more damage dealt on top of them. So this is just a really good light cone for a hunt characters, period. And funny enough, the only effect that really matters that you are going to be taking off is enables their follow-up attacks to ignore 24% of the target's defense. But with the amount of buffs that you are getting before that, and the fact that this lasts for 2 turns, it's a pretty good light cone for a lot of other hunt characters. I tried it on Yuan, and he was actually doing a lot of damage, especially with being able to get that damage boost just from using his ultimate. That's a really good light cone to have. Now, Dr.Ratio, as I said, and especially with all the other light cones besides, I would just say Jing Yuan, all of these are what only you would get if you like the character that they're on. When it comes to being in the S tier, especially besides Blade, because Blade is very specific to him, it's just that he doesn't have really good substitutions. Something like Ruan, something like Topaz can give some type of utility, but you of course need to have the specific things that are mentioned to be able to make sure that they work properly. And then things that are in A and below are very niche, should only be on those type of characters. But for Dr.Ratio, he's kind of special. His can actually work on different characters with having that last effect erased out. So it's a pretty good light cone to have, especially. And to be honest, I'm thinking of putting it in front of Kafka. But to be fair, with Kafka, with her being an Nihility, this can be put on multiple units, having the speed, having the damage dealt, having the road. I think this can work on many other units, so I will put them right there. Kafka and Ratio can share the spotlight right in that top spot, while Argenti, his is very general use, but you would never get this unless you love Argenti, or you're going to keep using Argenti, and that's something you want to make sure. And then lastly, we have Dan Heng's and Seele's, and I would have to put Seele's right there behind Argenti's, just because her is very reliant on having a certain amount of speed, and depending on the type of DPSs you are going to rock, especially that we are in the hunt class, they do want to be kind of speedy, but she really only gives herself the max amount of buff that she would want from her light cone, just because she can give herself more speed, and that the ultimate and the skill damage, if I'm not wrong, do get increased based on Seele and how much speed that she has, or whatever character has his light cone on how much speed they have. And for the most part, if you're not rocking like something like Asta, if you're not rocking something like Ruan, or if you're not rocking something like a very speedy DPS, you're not going to be getting the full amount of buffs from this. So everything from Argenti forward are more general light cones, and I think Seele is a little bit more niche, just because having the high amount of speed that you need to cap this out is something that possibly only Seele can really do. And then lastly, we have to put Dan Heng, and I know everyone's like, bro, you must hate Dan Heng so bad that you're putting him this low every single time, and it's not that. It's just that with his light cone, a lot of it procs from doing basic attacks, and there's not really any character that we have at the current moment besides supports who do basic attacks. For the most part, you want all your DPS to do their ultimate, their skill, and Dan Heng is a very specific case. He does use a fat ton of skills to be able to funnel his basic attacks, which come from his empowered enhanced basic attack, and this is not really used on anyone else. So having Dan Heng's where he is right now, and the fact that it's not HP based, so not even Blade can use it, they're not the best thing in the world. No one else uses their basic attack. No one else uses that way of doing their damage. So this is very niche, something only he can use. You can force it for other DPS to do their basic attack to get the buffs from this, but they only last for a certain amount of turns, so you would have to keep basic attacking every single time you lose the buff from Dan Heng's light cone. So I would have to put it right there at the very end of A. And then other than that, that's going to be basically it for this tier list for the 5-star light cones. I just think in this order, this is how much value I would give it when it comes to putting it on a general basis on whoever you want to put it on. And also for these substitutions that these characters would have, like again, something like Blade, why he's so high up is because his substitutions aren't really as plentiful. And for the substitutions that he does have, they don't really pale in comparison to his signature light cone. While things like Topaz, Ruan are very good utility wise, how Jing Yuan is very good broad, all the way from every single erudition character, and then from A to B to C. Well, let's count out C because C is just not good in my opinion. From A to B are very, if you like these characters, go ahead and get it. But these are the power or the value that you would get from having this on that character and possibly many others. So on that, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think about this light cone tier list. I know not a lot of people summon on light cones when it comes to Honkai Star Rail, but if you're ever looking to get another 5-star light cone when it comes to their rerun, well, maybe you can go ahead and look at this tier list and see if it's very much worth or whatever I said about it. But on that, thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the next one, and peace.